Good morning, everybody. So I was just editing the latest episode that I just did about the the languaging and all that. And I was looking at the horses. I'm just having a nice morning. It's quiet here. It's my last day by myself on the farm. My landlord's been on vacation in Mexico for a week. It's been amazing. Ed's barely been here. It's been a treat. I've gotten so much done. But I was thinking about how much anger and frustration is happening on the planet right now. And I know that and why that, and Spirit just asked me to explain where where I came to that. I think you may have seen some of my other videos where we share a pasture with the neighbor. Half the pasture is Sarah's and half is theirs. So they have a horse, and we board horses, and so Sarah has allowed them to use part of her pasture so the horse can have more to eat, more to go. To her, she's like, sure. She has 10 acres. She's like, I don't care, that's not being in use, let her eat all the grass she wants. So they don't always treat Missy very well, and I get really upset about it. And you've probably seen me post about it because I love animals so much. I love animals way more than people for the most part. And so sometimes I can hear her just being really loud and obnoxious and awful, and it's so she's obviously a powerful entity, the neighbor lady, because when I hear her, and she's pretty far, like I'm not good with distance, so I couldn't tell you, but I mean she's at least almost a football field away, and I can hear her sometimes. Sometimes I don't even know that she's there because she's just quiet and she like whatever. And then other times I'll hear her. And if Missy isn't moving fast enough, or like sometimes when they're bringing Missy water, Missy's really smart and she's really old. And I think sometimes she's like kind of like, fuck you. Like she's like, get out of my pasture. Like she doesn't even want them there. Like, especially if she's got that energy, because you can hear her. She comes like barreling down the hill and she just sounds so angry. And so, she has kids, and she has kids of all ages. And I just found out recently from another neighbor, I didn't know this, but I guess she has a special needs child. And because I grew up with a friend who also had a special needs child, I know that that can be incredibly draining and hard, so I get that. But we don't realize when we're angry and we're upset the kind of energy that we emit to others. And so sometimes when she comes down to bring Missy water, and if Missy, for whatever reason, they're not getting along, she has to go through this very narrow part of the road to get into the pasture. And Missy will literally, I don't know why she does it. She's never showed me. It's none of my business really, but I can hear it. I can hear the whole thing going on, and I can see it, because that's one of my gifts too. Like if I just like close my eyes, it's like watching television. I don't even have to be there. I can just like kind of zap myself over there and see what's going on. And I heard her, she'll be like, move. And she says it in such a she's like, get out of the way. Move. She's like, move. You want water? Move. And she's like screaming, and you're like, what the fuck? And it's so toxic, and it's so, unhealthy, right? Like totally like fucking with the energy, where I'm sure Missy's probably like, well, don't bring that energy into my pasture, like what the hell? I mean, they barely see her or talk to her, and it's like, but then Missy has to deal with that. Like that kind of sucks. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the energy and how important it is for us to recognize how our energy is when we're entering other space, right? This is a hard one to admit. And those of you who follow me on here and watch these shows and have known me since I was, since before my awakening, and definitely when I was, younger or a kid, like my cousin or like my, old friends and stuff. I always I feel like they literally invented bull in a china shop for me, because that's the kind of energy I was. And I've spoke about this before on my other episodes where, I used to work with this sweet little elf, this gnome. She was such a powerhouse in this tiny little person. And we, for the most part, we got along really well. But, you know, she had no problem calling me out on my shit. Like, and I was a bull in a china shop. And there would be times where I would just like, you know, I'd have a rough time in the morning, or I'd have a rough time getting to work. And so, you know, you want to talk to somebody about it. And if, you know, depending on who's in the shop or whatever, I was professional, but if no one was in the shop and I saw her in the office, like I would just go straight back and be like, oh my God, this fucking asshole on the bus, or this crazy person, or whatever was happening. You know what I mean? And I would just be like, blah, 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 and I would just like verbally vomit all over her. I would just totally put my energy all over her without permission. And I did that to a lot of people. I'm sure I still do that now, not realizing it, you know, sometimes, especially if I'm smoking weed. Sometimes I'm in my own world, and if somebody calls me or somebody, you know, I can be like, oh, you know, it's part of my energy. It's, you know, part of who I am. But, you know, that was like the greatest gift she ever gave me was, you know, finally one time she was like, hey, you know what? Do you hear this music? Like, do you see where I'm at? Like, she had this like calming music on. It was totally zen in there. And she was just like, we worked in an organic clothing store, you know? And she was just like, what the fuck? She's like, you just came in here and like, you know, pissed all over my space, basically, you know? She's like, you know, now because me as, you know, Lula, you know, I'm this huge energy, right? I'm this old soul, amazing white light, you know, full of love. You know, I'm not from here. So sometimes I forget that my energy is so amazingly huge that I don't realize how I'm impacting a room. And I did this my whole life, you know, and I remember people saying, you know, like, you know, oh, I was in such a shitty mood, but man, you walked in here, I feel great. You know, it's like, so it's like, however I wielded that power. So if I wielded that power for good, then it was awesome. And then people felt lit and they were like pumped and they're amped, you know, that's why I was a great cheerleader. But if I was in a shitty mood or I was depressed or somebody just said something horrible to me, I can go in and fucking deflate a room like that. And that's not ego. That is soul knowledge. That is who I am. Anybody who knows me knows that's true. And it's funny because I'm a little person too. It's funny. I'm 5'3", almost 5'3". And Natalie, this person that I was speaking of, Natty Staggs, she's awesome. And you should go look up her music right now, if you can. Natty, Natty Staggs, Staggs, I believe. I think it's 2 G's, but look up her music. She's amazing. Oh, I can listen to her all day. Her little ukulele and her cute little voice, her little angelic voice. You know, but we have these people in our lives for a reason, to remind us who we are and also to guide us. So I'm just here to kind of pop in and give that to you as well. You know, do you want to be a bull in a china shop that comes in and destroys the energy in a room? Or do you want to be an awesome, you know, flitty fairy that brings people love and good energy and happiness? And, you know, it's just, and that's my languaging because I'm a flitty fairy. But, you know, maybe you think of yourself, you know, as a beautiful fluffy unicorn running through the room, whatever it is. You get what I'm saying here. I just realized I didn't have I guess this will be our Friday's food for thought, you know, just to be mindful of like how you're entering a room, how you're leaving a room. You know, are you leaving it better than you found it? That is our energy, right? Is to leave it better than we found it. I lost the sun. I was like, oh, that was a pretty light. Now I'm like, can you see me? It's really early. Maybe I'll come in closer. Yeah. So do you hear where I'm going with this? I had something like that happen with Edward the other day. We had this amazing morning. You know, we hadn't seen each other for days, and you know, he's like, hey, do you need to go shopping or anything? And I was like, yeah, that'd be rad. So we went shopping and got food and, you know, got all the things that we needed, toiletries and stuff. And when we got home, I said, are you working or what are you doing? I'm like, I said, I've actually been working a lot. I'm really tired. I said, I just got some really great stuff from the library. Do you want to watch something? He's like, yeah. Like we went from like being in this like really good mood, having this great morning, to all of a sudden, like, I said, you know what, can I just do the dishes really quick? I was like, because, you know, we have this tiny home and this tiny little sink. And I was like, I wanted to cook. And all of a sudden I look over and I said, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. And I said, what's wrong? And he's like, nothing. And I said, well, I can tell something's wrong. I'm like, do you want to talk about it? because he's such a in-depth person and he keeps to himself a lot. And so I'm like, what's going on in there? I always say to him, like, what's going on in there? Do you want to get it out? Because that's part of his therapy too, is because he used to keep a lot of stuff in, and now he's getting better about talking about stuff. And he just kind of mumbled, but he wasn't really saying much of anything. And then I said, intuitively, I said, do you want to go? I said, have you changed your mind? Do you feel like being by yourself? And he goes, yeah, I think I do. And I said, that's okay. I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, I can still have that day. I'm like, it would be fun to do that with you, but it's totally okay. I'm like, if you need to take care of yourself, I'm like, go take care of yourself. And it went from that and me trying to be like this gentle energy to help him to, before I knew it, it like escalated into, because I was like, do you want to talk about it a little bit? And then it escalated into this conversation where I felt really attacked. And I was like, okay. And I was trying to sort it out. I was trying to hold space for him, because he asked me, if we could talk about stuff. And I was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, before I knew it, he was ready to go. I felt like shit. I felt like crying. I was like super depressed. And as he was getting ready to leave, I said to him, I go, well, that kind of sucks. And he goes, what? And he's like, what's wrong? And I go, there are a lot of ways you could have handled that situation. I said, but I feel like whatever is going on or what just happened with you, you needed somewhere to dump it off. And I said, and you just dumped it on me. I said, because I didn't feel like this a little while ago. And I'm an empath, right? So I feel energy. That's like I'm a million things, but I'm just full of stars. That's like, a sponge that just takes in everything. I get saturated with the energy. And I know how to filter it out, and I'm home so I can smudge and get rid of it. But I wanted him to recognize what had just happened. I didn't mind holding space for him, but I also wouldn't be his dumping zone. I said, that's not really fair. I go, do you think that's fair? And he was like, no, the cool thing is we ended up working it out. I mean, he left, for a bit because I was like, hey, can you go feed the cat next door? And so he ended up leaving for a bit. And then when he came back, I said, do you feel better? Like I was trying to be nice. And then I just started to like cry and I felt really depressed. And then he came in and he tried to fix it, but it was like the damage was already done. It wasn't about fixing what he had done. It was about remedying where I was so that I didn't have to, yes, he could leave and I could work through that on my own, but I wanted him to recognize it. I wanted him to see it. And I didn't do it in a pushing, shoving, shitty way. I did it in a way where I was like, do you see this? Like, I'm upset now. Like, I'm crying. And I'm like, I think, this is where you need to have some accountability. And he just like, his eyes just like raised. And I was like, what? And he's like, my therapist said that yesterday. And I said, well, we obviously agreed to have this conversation, our higher selves. I said, I don't mind guiding you along, and then he goes, well, that's because I feel like you're being my therapist. You're always psychoanalyzing me. And I said, well, it's part of my job here on earth. So I'm like, I apologize. I'm like, but we're not lovers anymore. We're not in a relationship. We're friends. And I said, so a lot of my friends ask for my advice all the time. And I realized that Ed's not always exactly asking for my advice so much as he's just like trying to talk about things. And so that was a great teaching moment for me too, because it's my job here, but it's also not my job to like analyze everything and everyone every 5 seconds, And most of it's because I figure out something that happened to me. Like if I was, having a shit show day and then I had to sit with my spirit guides to work out like what was going on with it, what was my participation in it, like what could I improve on it, what could I learn from it? And then the situation will present itself from another person. And then I feel like, yes, that is my teaching moment. I was just taught that by spirit. So I'm just giving back. That's why I started Lula's Labyrinth, because when I started working as a psychic medium as a job, like, 4 years ago, it was so difficult to try and navigate through that situation. And, it's like you want to help everybody, but at the same time, that's not their medicine, or it's not the, the timing or whatever. And I was so arrogant. It was like the more I came into my gifts, it's like, yes, I am very powerful. Yes, I am not. I'm a very high level white light being, whatever terminology you want to use it. But it doesn't matter. I still am human here, and I don't have a right to, trample over, people and what they're going through, or just be the bull in the china shop to come in and be like, here I come to save the day. That's ego. And so that's something I'm working on, is like trying to decide like the ego and the soul knowledge and like, that balance there. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you. So I guess this is our Friday's food for thought. Don't be a bull in a china shop. Be responsible for your energy and what you're bringing to the table and what you're taking away. You also don't have the right to go into a room and suck the energy out of it and take it with you. That is something I used to do too that I wasn't even realizing, siphoning people's energy, being a vampire, not realizing what I was doing. So it's interesting. It's all interesting. And every day I work on this. Every day I am learning. Every day I am healing myself and hopefully helping others learn to heal themselves. And that's all we can do. That's our work here right now. I was just watching one of Victor Odo, I believe is his last name, on the 7 signs you're an old soul. I mean, I already knew that, but it's like, just because I know that doesn't mean I can't stop learning, and there were a few things in there that really resonated with me, but it was the way that he used his languaging around it that even brought me to another deeper level of thinking. There's that old saying that says, every time you think you've mastered something, something else will come around and show you one more little bit of it. We never stop learning. We never stop growing because it's part of our work here on Earth. And like he said in his episode, this is a very unique time. I like the way he worded it because it's true. It's a very unique time. It's, I know that to some people it feels like it's the end of the world. And I know that that's why there's so many light workers here right now. I spoke about this on one of my other episodes that I know a few people have been like, isn't it crazy? There's like so many. How can there be that many? Then that means we're all like that. It's like, well, yes. I mean, we're all light beings having a spiritual, human experience. It is a spiritual human experience. We're all having that. That's true. But it's also like there are people like myself that we came here specifically to do a job. We came here to work. We came here to help people through this transitioning, through the transition of the planet. So anyway, I'm rambling on. It's a little too early for all this, but it's awesome. I have to get going on my day. So have a wonderful weekend, you guys. I'm sure I'll keep posting stuff. And I hope it's okay for you guys. I'm going to do it anyway, because as I say in one of my videos, I'm like, because it's my channel. But it's spiritual stuff, obviously, on Lula's Labyrinth, but it's also, there's a part of me that's really awakened lately. I've been singing and dancing more. I use dancing to work out. I use dancing to express myself. I use singing to express myself. And I am very dramatic. I love it, but I like to express my emotions through dance and through singing. And I hope you enjoy those videos. If you don't, just pass through them. And if you look here under the videos or playlists, I tried to, I don't know if you've ever even noticed them before, but if you look at them now, I separated them so that if you want to just look at a playlist, like right now, before I even post this, I'll be putting it in the spirit medicine folder. So playlist or whatever. So I have spirit medicine playlist. I have spirit animal medicine playlist. I have meditation music because some people just want to hear music or like guided meditation. So I have a playlist for that. And those are like highlights, my favorite things I like to listen to while I meditate, etc. Then I also, then there's also a meditation in nature where I have like waterfalls or water, things like that. And feel free to always ask me for any kind of videos that you're looking for or subjects or topics that you're really interested in. Now that I'm getting more into the YouTube channel, I feel like I've gone more into like the teaching mode, and I miss Instagram in some ways, but in other ways I don't even think about it. And I realize because this is really what I've always wanted to do. I just wasn't sure like how I wanted to do it. Then I have another, playlist that has funny stuff that's like, I think I put laugh therapy or something like that, laughter therapy. And those are just things that I found really funny or, I just made me laugh. So if you need a good chuckle, I just have all different playlists. So look in the playlist. Maybe there's something in there that you're drawn to. And so I put my music, my singing and all that in one other playlist. So if you're not interested in that, just like go past it. But if I'm entertaining, if you find me entertaining or find my my music and dance stuff helpful to you, if you helps you to get up and dance and be joyful and playful and to be yourself, then all more power to it. Yesterday, I'm going to post it later today, but yesterday I actually decided to dress up in this little outfit. I just felt like it. I just felt like dressing up in this little outfit. And then I was listening to all this music and this Moulin Rouge song came on. It just, anyway. So yeah, it's like this channel I started to help people to heal themselves so that if they don't have, the exchange of energy, money, whatever, to talk with me one-on-one, they would still have a place, a source where they can get information or teachings, that I'm getting from the ancestors. So that's that. All right. So that's my Friday's food for thought. Have a blessed weekend, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Blessed be. Aho.